And we're back with the 920 podcast. I'm Logan Quinton at LDQ Sports alongside Charley Collier at C Collier 64. Lots to talk about. We're heading into SEC play as it concerns to the Vols baseball team. We're in the middle of March Madness. Day one was phenomenal, did not disappoint. We head on to day two of the basketball tournament on St. Patrick's Day. We'll see who has some luck, who doesn't. Charley, how's it going, my man? I know you this is probably your most exciting time of the year. How you holding up?
Yeah, these are my four favorite days of the year. So part of me is a little sad that we're already a fourth of the way through. And the other part of me just can't wait for day two. I can't get enough.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's up there for me because I mean you've got SEC baseball ramping up. A lot of teams got some conference play underway last week as it pertains to college baseball, but really, this is when conference play ramps up for baseball season. And you have March Madness in terms of the basketball world. Opening day is just, I mean, it's a couple of weeks away in terms of MLB. The weather's warming up, so lots to look forward to. But for now, we'll focus on the Vols. Coming off of a midweek win, 10-0 against Lipscomb. I think there were some people thinking maybe a little apprehensive about tripping that one up. But 10-0 against the Bison. Good little club, by the way. And also coming off of the sweep against Morehead State. Zane didn't hit for the cycle. Maui Ahuna, they supplanted him in the lineup, and he's just been on fire since. So I think we got a really good idea what the lineup looks like. That's what we have thrown up on the graphic right here. Charley, what were your thoughts last weekend, throughout the week, and sort of your final thoughts going into SEC play?
Just to be honest with you, I barely checked the scores last weekend. Being in Las Vegas, I saw that Zane didn't hit for the cycle. I saw that Blake Burke continues to assault baseballs, and that Tennessee pitchers continue to just mow people down. I saw that Chase Burns' strikeout numbers were great. I mean, my biggest takeaway is I'm ready for weekends to stop being like that, quite honestly.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway. I cannot wait to get into SEC play. Preseason base, or not preseason, but prior to the SEC season, that's all fun. It's great. I love having baseball back. I love watching Tennessee. I love some of the different events we get. But just when you finally get to the meat of your schedule, when you get into SEC play, it just gets so much more fun. I wish that this weekend, it had more of an opening SEC weekend feel to it from a weather perspective.
Yeah.
And of course, you got to start the SEC season by heading to Columbia, Missouri, where you might as well be playing in Minnesota right now. It's 29 degrees there currently, but don't worry, we're going to get all the way up to 44 before we drop back down to a high of 32 tomorrow. So I mean, weather is going to be a factor this weekend, but I don't know. Just these last couple of weeks, man, Tennessee's just really finding their groove. Talent all the way around. Hitting well, pitching well. Couldn't ask for much more.
Yeah, I agree. We won't really sit on the Vols for very long because, like you kind of touched on it, like on the pitching side of things, there's really not a whole lot to decipher there. With the lineup, though, I think there are a few notes, and we've got it right here. This is my projected lineup going into SEC play. This is what I would roll out. You got Ahuna at the top. Like I said, ever since they put him at leadoff, he's 6 of his last 14, 8 runs in his last 4 games. Then you got CoMo at the 2 spot. Look at that OPS, 11-13, and he's got 11 bags, 11 for 11.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah, no, that's a great rate. And Blake Burke, what can you not say about Blake Burke? He's doing King Kong stuff right now. And then the guy behind him, Zane Denton. Uh, he has totally changed the game in the box. He hit for the cycle, like we mentioned. And, he's the work he's put in the offseason has really improved. I think it's like not only like his tools and everything, but the mental side of things. I asked him about what it was like to come back to the home state, what kind of impact that had on his game. And he said, absolutely. He said, being on another team last year, we played these guys talking about the Tennessee program. He said, I saw what they were doing. I knew some of the guys, I knew some of the growth in the development that those guys had made. He said, I wanted to be a part of that. So far, man, he's grown leaps and bounds, and he was already a really good player. He's second on the team with 16 walks. I would not have guessed that or projected that at this point in the season. I know, like I said, no SEC play yet, but we're about to find out. We'll see if that keeps up. Griffin Merritt, a 10-game hit streak. He's just been, as Tony V says, steady Eddie. Just someone you can really count on in the thick of that lineup. And then you could have Jared Dickey, a lefty hitting behind Griffin. Dickey's just doing Jared Dickey things. He gets on base consistently, keeps the strikeouts down. And in this bottom of the lineup, that's what we've talked about, right? Like who solidifies a role down there. Doesn't necessarily have to be a couple of guys. It can just be one. But they've got some options, man. Dylan Dreiling has been phenomenal. We've kind of alluded to the fact we give him the edge.
That's been my guy. That's been since preseason.
So. 12-17 OPS. He has 29 at bats now. And once you get to that 30 clip by March, late March, mid-March even, that's kind of a healthy sample. He's second on the team in OPS for those who qualify plate appearances. So that I think he's going to start, today, and then you got Charley Taylor, right behind him. Charley has, say what you want, but I mean, if you're 9-hole hitter, or 8 guy, wherever Charley's going to be hitting 244, 852 OPS. I mean, you're not asking for, life-changing stuff down at that. Just be consistent and compete during at bats. And I feel like that's what Charley does. And then a handful of guys, flex bench options, Kyle Booker, Christian Scott, Reese Chapman, Hunter Inslee, Logan Chambers. Of course, Cal Stark, he's back now. He took a collision last weekend, but he'll be back, and he's kind of that secondary catcher / DH role. So those are the notes and the projected lineup that I have that I think they'll roll out, but it'll probably be totally different. So that's just something to look at. Any thoughts on that, Charley, before we pivot?
Yeah, see that on your chart here. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, he has a wonderful chart laid out for you. And you have Kavaris Tears.
Yeah, I forgot to mention. I just realized I forgot to mention. I had Kavaris at the 8 spot in front of Charley.
I like in the little notes next to him, you just wrote "back go boom," and I don't know. That is kind of the way I feel. Like if you have a guy that can just go yard at any moment, like he can, that just has the raw power that he does. Like to me, yeah, why not throw that guy? Just in the 8-hole, like as your DH. I would rather just have a guy. I mean, he can still hit the ball too. Granted, a limited sample size, just 18 at bats, but he's gotten a hit in 9 of them. I like the idea of having him there in that DH spot. Just throw a little power in the bottom 3 of your lineup and see what happens. See if you can find that big hit in a spot where most teams, by the time you get to their 8-hole, they're not really counting on a whole lot anyway.
I was really impressed with Kavaris, not only what he did last weekend, but I was impressed with him because he had the media availability after that game where he made his debut starting. and just super impressed with that young man. He didn't know that he was going to start until like right before the game. He didn't look at the lineup card. He didn't expect it. I forgot who he said it was, but he said one of the teammates, when they're out warming up, came up and said, "Congrats, man." He's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Man, you're starting." And then he kind of took it in stride, like, "Oh, okay," and then goes out and does that. Man, he was just
That's amazing.
finding, yeah, he was finding the barrels, and real impressed with what he had to say after the game. His demeanor and his like mental approach about it. It's, man, that guy. I've got a good feeling about this one, and as Tony says, he doesn't even have to blast the ball or barrel it. If he just gets contact, man, he's that thing's getting out of there, out of the infield in a hurry. So he could really have a good chance of solidifying a DH role. Maybe he can get in the outfield some, but yeah, things are looking up for the bottom of the lineup. And we had question marks going in, so we'll see. They got to go out to CoMo and go up against a Missouri club that's been really interesting so far. So we'll pivot to them. This is a snippet of what I had going into the season. A little preview on Missouri that I did. They've got a lot of production returning. And this is what I said. I feel more confident in the offense making an upgrade. It starts with Luke Mann, an all-SEC preseason selection. The third baseman led the team in several categories and is at top of the conference in current home runs. He had 17 last year. His offense is by far his strong suit. On the other side of the coin, Mizzou should have a strong field. They posted really nice fielding metrics and bring back most of the squad. The Tigers also held opponents to just 32 stolen bases in 2022. And I circled some 6 key names, key returns that the Tigers had coming into the season. Out of those 6, they collected 896 at bats, pretty much 900 at bats. That's a lot. Austin Trevor is the leading hitter, or he was last year. He and Ty Wilmsmeyer will be the on-base guys. That's come to fruition. And I mentioned the Tigers will need to improve some power numbers, but they already have a knack for running the bases. How do they find room to maneuver in the loaded SEC? They are primed to get better, but how much progression will show up in the win-loss column? Charley, any thoughts on the Tigers?
I don't know what this team is. That's
Yeah.
my thought. I mean, talk about a mystery of a baseball team. They come out in that first weekend down at Globe Life Field. They lose a tight one with Oklahoma State, but they follow that up. They beat Texas. They beat TCU. We were really impressed with them at the time. Then they had a 4-game series with FIU, won 3 out of 4, and they haven't really played any games that tell you who they are since. Cool, you beat up Lindenwood. Okay, you swept Texas Southern. One of those games was a little close. Great, you took 2 out of 3 from the New York or the New Jersey Institute of Technology. What does that tell me? I don't know. Which I guess you could say the same for Tennessee, but you just already had a feeling of what they were going to be heading into the year. But for Missouri, I mean, they're racking up wins. And again, they had those impressive wins early. They have some guys that are playing some great baseball. Again, Dalton Bargo, hit machine. Luke Mann was a preseason all SEC player.
First team, yeah.
And he's, continued to play well this year. And the pitching hasn't been underwhelming for Missouri either. So, on paper, they look like a pretty decent baseball team. And I think that, going there could be pretty challenging, honestly. But I still don't know what to think about Missouri.
Yeah, we're going to find out real quick.
Near their test. I would
love
if they could play someone else to open the SEC season. We could be like, all right, that's Missouri. But I don't know what Missouri is. Again, we're going to find out quick because we know what Tennessee is, and they're coming to Columbia, and they're ready to try to strike everybody out and mash a bunch of baseballs. And Missouri's going to have to try to stop them. But Missouri's been impressive. I guess that's the best way to put it. I've been impressed by Missouri. I don't know if impressive is going to lead to good or overly competitive in the SEC, but in terms of what I expected from Missouri versus what we've seen, props to the Tigers.
I'll say this: even last year, I was at the Missouri series here in Knoxville, and they didn't come timid. I mean, they brought the competition. I mean, that they got blown out a lot, not just the Tennessee series, but I was kind of impressed with them in a way, like their demeanor and what they brought to Rocky Top and against the Vols, who were, the talk of the nation and the number one for so long. And they returned so much of that production. So, like I said, I feel like they're better, and I feel like they will be better, but like, what's the man in the SEC? It's just the gap is so small, the margin between making the SEC tournament and not.
It's like, what is better,
Yeah, and you have to really, you can't just get better. You have to put your nose to the grindstone and be able to just take blow after blow. I mean, look at Mississippi last year. We've talked about it. Like, we thought they were dead in the water, and they climbed back. But I really do think I'm pretty solid in the fact that I think Missouri's going to make the SEC tournament, and I think they're going to be a bubble team going into the big dance. And you mentioned some of the names. Bargo has been a freshman that's been amazing. He's primarily their DH guy. He's on fire right now. Luke Mann is doing Luke Mann things. Hank Zisler leads the team in home runs with 8 and 47 at bats. He's getting on base half the time. Then you have Trevor Austin. We mentioned him. He's pretty much their best pure hitter. Their leading hitter last year. Ty Wilmsmeyer, he's a really good athlete. He's a utility type of guy. 9 of 11 on the base pass. He's hitting 352. Justin Colon, he's a really smooth defender. I think we're going to see some really good defense in terms of the infield in this series, this matchup. So, and then below the little chart here, that's an idea of the lineup. That's what they rolled out last Friday. Luke Mann, Ross Lovich, Dalton Bargo, Trevor Austin, Hank Zisler, Juju Stevens, Dylan Leach, Ty Wilmsmeyer, and Justin Colon. But it's that top. It's Luke Mann and Bargo and Zisler, that first half that can be a little dangerous. But my question is, can they keep up the power numbers, once they get in the SEC play? On the previous graphic, they hit like 62 home runs last year. That's pathetic. Their slug was 443.
Well, it's just Logan, that's all.
Yeah. So numbers extremely better so far, but like you said, we're about to find out, going up against the best pitching staff in the nation. So as far as the Vols pitching staff, not a whole lot to touch on. I feel like, as far as a deep dive, we know who these guys are. One of the bright spots, or surprises, I should say, has been AJ Russell. He's been phenomenal for a freshman to come in and really get in a groove and eat the innings that he has on this type of staff. That's been huge. The weekend is the weekend, man. Camden Sewell, by the way, made his first appearance. So he is back. We're just waiting on Wyatt Evans. And I think he'll be we don't have an update on him, but I think within the next couple of weeks for sure we will.
I really thought you would see him back by now.
Yeah. But I can tell you he's going through he's not warming up. Last weekend he wasn't warming up. So he was on ice last weekend, but he's going through the other progressions. Dressing out, seems to be, getting along with the guys just fine, normal pregame, all except for the warm-ups. So we'll see. I can't wait for him to get back. But I would have to go with Chase Burns as a guy who what's more impressive than impressive, right? Like, so it's hard to really circle something when it comes to these guys, but really got a feeling about Chase Burns, man. It feels like he's reached another gear. He mentioned his endurance is so much better. He credits Q for that. That's been such a huge addition for Q to be back with the club. Guys just rave about him, what he can do for their performance. And I think it's shown with Chase Burns. I mean, I thought they might dial him back a little bit last week with it being Morehead State, and he went 90 plus pitches. So he and Chase Dolander, Drew Beam, those guys are ready to just get after it. And the Tiger, we'll see what they can do against this Tigers bunch that has been good up to this point. But man, this rotation is a buzzsaw. So I guess maybe we'll talk about Missouri and their rotation. We'll open the. Do you have some thoughts on the Vols?
Yeah. Have I been seeing this correctly? That Drew Beam's velo is now, his fastball has been sitting like 95, 96 now. He's been touching like 97.
Yeah, like the power. Yeah, there was talk about his.
I know he said he got stronger this offseason. Like, I know that was one of his talking points, but
yeah,
I was it last weekend? I saw that he hit 97 a couple of times, and he was constantly sitting, mid 90s. I was really impressed. I mean, last year he was sitting like 91 to 93, in that range.
Yeah, maybe lower 90s. Yeah.
To me, it kind of felt like, all right, you had your two power guys, and then you had like your Kyle Hendricks on Sunday with Drew Beam. But now we're seeing him ramp that fastball up too. I mean, I just find myself consistently blown away by Drew Beam. He's the guy that I always just am so impressed with. Like the other two, yeah, they're amazing. They're both going to be first-round picks. They both have an elite stuff. When you look at Stuff Plus, they're both towards the top of that list. But man, Drew Beam running that velo up too, the way that he pitches, you got to really start to get pretty intrigued by him moving forward as a prospect and as a pretty elite pitcher too.
Yeah, if you don't think that the Vols have the edge on a Friday or Saturday for whatever reason, they by far will have the edge every Sunday.
He will never, ever, ever, ever not have the edge on Sunday. And that's because of Drew Beam. I mean, Drew Beam could give you the edge on Friday. Most of the SEC series. Yeah. It's incredible. And then too, when you get into Sunday and bullpens are running a little shallow for some teams, Tennessee has guys that are like, oh man, I'd just love to be able to even get some innings. Like, yeah, Sundays are Vols winning days, in my opinion. Just the days that you can really just break some games open, especially against the bottom half of the SEC. And I don't know. I mean, the weather again this weekend, I don't think it is suitable for a bunch of runs. But when you get into that final game of the series this weekend, I think that's one of those break it open in the series kind of games.
Yeah, when the Vols are in cream, it's already over. Already too late. So let's get into it. Let's do the weekend rotation brought to you by Crumble Cookies. And we've already touched on the Vols. We'll hit on this Missouri rotation. But first, let's roll out the rotation for Crumble this week. We've got on St. Patty's week, March Madness week, milk chocolate chip, the number 1 seed staple. Mallow cream cookie. This one is interesting. Has Lucky Charms marshmallows sprinkled on top. Wow. This is mine. This is for me. This one, cookies and cream. It looks fantastic. It's a strong 2 or 3 seed right there for me. You've got a mint brownie cookie.
Mint
this
brownie.
thing, It has mint frost. It's a chocolate cookie. So like a chocolate cookie, right? Not chocolate chip, but like a chocolate cookie with mint cream spread, and then a heavy drizzle of chocolate on top of the mint frosting. Butterscotch chip. I'm not afraid to try that one. In a sugar cookie, this one's interesting. Gold coin sugar cookie, sweet vanilla smoothness with a chocolate gold coin on top. Don't spend it all in one place.
Yeah, that 2 seed's not getting upset by Princeton.
And then a mystery cookie. So how they do these, it depends on the location. Knoxville has 2 locations, Clint Highway and Turkey Creek on Parkside Drive. So depending on the location, they'll have a different mystery cookie. So if you're in Knoxville, go to one of those locations. Like I said, Clinton Highway or Parkside Drive, either one. Find out what the mystery cookie is at that respective location. You will not be upset. You'll not be upset like Arizona yesterday by Princeton. You will be satisfied, thrilled, just like Furman was yesterday.
Crumble cookie, man, they're just too smart. They just know.
They're taking over Knoxville, man. A new location.
I mean, if they put a mystery cookie out there, how am I supposed to not go to Crumble Cookie and figure out what the mystery is? I can't handle mysteries. I need answers. Now I'm probably gonna miss the tip off for the first games because I'm gonna have to go figure out what the mystery cookie is up on Clinton Highway. Goodness, Crumble, quit being so good to us.
Yeah, man. Go pick up a party pack, a 6-pack. I know there's some amazing spreads right now that people are laying out there. People are taking off work for the weekend. Crumble Cookies is the perfect pick-me-up. It's the perfect addition to your March Madness spread. So go check them out. While we check out this Missouri rotation. So I had on here, this is kind of half a preview of 2022, or excuse me, a preview coming into 2023, some stats from 2022, and then some added stuff from what this rotation has done so far. Chandler Murphy, he is their Friday guy. He's a transfer from Arizona. Man, if you look up his history, it's not that impressive. Don't look at the ERA. But they want him to he's getting some serious run with this Friday deal, and he's gonna find out real quick if he can go to battle and compete on Fridays against SEC competition. He got rocked his first in his debut with the Tigers out in Texas in Arlington. But since then he's battled back. He's been okay. They will have the surprise is Rorik Maltrude. He's the one that's really hopped up and really just grabbed a spot in this rotation. Because I do think with their guys, they do have a rotation. It's a matter of just letting it settle and figuring some things out. But Rorik Maltrude has been the surprise. He will be the second game, the Saturday guy. And looking at his stuff, a .77 whip in 14 2/3, 22 strikeouts to just 2 walks. So really, really impressive from Maltrude. But a guy that I think is key and that's been impressive in spots is Tony Newbeck. So the Sunday slot is TBA. We all know TBA has a 0 ERA, right?
For now.
Yeah, for now. But I think it's going to be key for Missouri how they handle Newbeck and a guy like Ian Loesch. Because either of those guys can start, no question. But do they piggyback with them? Do they wait till Sunday to start Newbeck or Loesch? It's going to be interesting to see, but Newbeck is a lefty. He elevates his fastball. He's got a good curve. He's going to be a really tough at bat in terms of the Vols lefties. And there's a lot of lefties in this lineup. So Newbeck, that's the interesting one for me. He's got a slider. His sliders looked really good at times this year. So that's one I'm waiting to see when they introduce to this Tennessee lineup. But Friday, Saturday, it'll be Murphy, then Maltrud. Murphy, by the way, 3.48 ERA, 1.24 whip. He's 2-1. Like I mentioned, he got rocked, has been good since.
They're not allowing a lot of extra base hits, I feel like. Missouri, for his middle of the road is the pitching has looked at times, sometimes good against the weaker competition. Sometimes we've seen, like you said, like Murphy get rocked. Murphy's given up 1 home run on the year. Newbeck's given up 2. You look down at Maltrud, he's given up 1. Just 2 doubles for him. Murphy hasn't given up any doubles, any triples. You are going to have to earn it a little bit. Like, you're going to have to string together at bats. You're not going to be able to get it in just like a swing or 2, or at least that's maybe what it seems like. But I don't know. I'll be intrigued to see what this Missouri pitching staff looks like against a Tennessee lineup that is deadly. And man, you did mention Rorik too. Where did he even come from? Like, it's blown me away that he's stepped up into a role this year. He's a 5th-year senior from New Mexico State.
New Mexico State.
Aggressively mediocre at New Mexico State is the best way to describe it. Aggressively mediocre.
Yeah, that's, like I said, this is real interesting to me because I think when it's all said and done, they will find a really nice 1-2 punch. Whether it's Murphy coming to form and settling in and getting in a groove in that Friday role. And then like I said, Tony Newbeck, for him, he was a fly ball pitcher last year, like big time. He gave up 15 home runs and he had a 20% fly home run rate. And so he's settled down in that area, but I don't know. It's going to be Ian Loesch is the steady guy. He's not a guy that's going to go deep. He's more of he was their bullpen guy last year, the best pitcher out of the pen. So right now he's basically just doing whatever they need. You need me to start on Sunday? All right, I'll get it. I'll go out there, toss 4 or 5 innings and try to get it done, get you guys an edge so we can win this game. But they would prefer to have Loesch in the pen. So I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting, man. Like I said, it's far from cemented in terms of how they want this rotation to go. But like you said, they're limiting the bases so far. 11 home runs allowed on the year. That's really good. We'll see, man. Austin Tresser is another one. He's the hardest thrower of the bunch. Last year he had a 3.64 ERA, just 22 strikeouts and 17 walks. So not a really good strike to walk right there. We'll see if he gets some more run this year or this series. We find out real quick what the Cats are doing in CoMo and what possibly can they do going forward. I think for Missouri, on the Missouri side of things, if you just don't get swept, that's probably a win this weekend. Do you think?
I mean, for Missouri, yeah, you want to just, don't get swept this weekend and then just figure out a way to kind of just, find level ground next weekend to having to go to Columbia, South Carolina. And then, they get a weekend series with Kentucky where I think they can fully kind of regain their footing and get ready to be a team that competes to make the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament. But having to host Tennessee and then immediately head to South Carolina, not the best start for a team that, you're trying to figure out what they are. One more thing on Rorik Maltrud. I was really just kind of again because it intrigued me when you see that he's a projected starter, and I was like, hold up, who is this? This was not a guy I was really prepared to think about this year. When you look, you talked about Missouri in general, how they seem to kind of play with an edge to them, a competitiveness to them that you respect, that they kind of rise to competition at times. Even that's what they were doing last year in Knoxville. This to me, Rorik seems like the kind of guy that does really get juiced by competition, that does kind of elevate his game against some of these better teams. You look this year, he got to come in and clean up that Texas mess. And against Texas in that first game, he went 2 2/3, gave up one hit, struck out 4 guys. But you want to take that back even further to his career at New Mexico State. As a redshirt sophomore, he made 10 starts. His ERA was barely below 5. Again, aggressively mediocre. But he did pitch 7 innings with 7 strikeouts against a ranked Oregon team that year, elevating to his competition. Last year at New Mexico State, again, it's Nebraska. It's not like it's really super elevated competition, but against a high major school, went for a season long, 7 innings, 7 strikeouts on the road. So I could definitely see, this being one of those guys that gets a little extra juice when those moments are big, and gets that matchup against Chase Burns Saturday, and it could lead to, I think, a pretty fun game from a pitching perspective.
And he's going to have to find that juice and find some energy to plug into from the Tennessee. He's going to have no other choice. There's going to be more Tennessee staff and players in the dugout than there will be Missouri fans in the stands. So the Tennessee will have to be.
Would you want to sit out there in 28 degrees and watch Missouri play baseball?
I'm a sicko, and so I watched a portion of that series last weekend against NJIT, and let me tell you, man, that Missouri, I can see why they kind of struggled at times with it, NJIT, because it was a snoozer, man.
They had to move their spring game inside because it was too cold to play football outside for the spring game. Yeah. They're out there playing baseball.
And so it'll be interesting. I really honestly think that there'll be more Vols fans than Missouri fans show up. Missouri's trying to do all they can to get fans out there. They've got all kinds of promotional stuff going this whole weekend. We'll see. It starts at, let's see, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central, if I have that correct. So we'll get out of here, but before we do, let's touch on some bets, man. Charley, what do you got? I know you've got plenty of basketball. Anything? What are some of your best bets today for the basketball?
Yeah, I was going to say I can't even begin to think about betting on baseball today.
Yeah, no, the weather has totally – so the weather in the Southeast is horrible, particularly – thank God they're not playing here. But like this Eastern Tennessee region and the Carolinas, Wake Forest and Duke have already had to postpone their game ones till tomorrow and make it a doubleheader. So, the board is totally screwed right now. No, last I looked, no totals. I'm about to pull it up, but go ahead if you've got some best bets in the basketball.
In the basketball, well, let's see. In tonight's game, I like Kent State to win. I like their money line. I also like Drake money line at 7:25 Eastern time. NC State at 4 p.m. plus 5.5. I'm all over that. And then I'm taking the first half. Pardon me. Goodness. I'm taking the first half unders in the first 4 games as well.
So did you say Drake is performing against Miami, performing at halftime or something?
No, yeah. They started from I don't know. I was going to try to come up with a Drake pun. I couldn't.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
But Drake, Miami, I like Drake. I like the Bulldogs.
Nice. Yeah, we talked about it off air. Kind of keen on VCU catching points there. I would love to tease them with something else, maybe like a UC Santa Barbara or maybe Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon's always already catching like 15.5 points. What do you think? I'll lean on you for the college basketball advice because I just
Grand
can't
Canyon,
handicap it. Yeah.
Gonzaga in the tournament's just a different animal. They've made the Sweet
What
16.
have they done? Like I watched them back in December and January, and they look terrible for what they are, for the talent that they have and the players. Like it did not look like Gonzaga Mark Few
It's
basketball.
it's not as good of a Gonzaga team as usual. I mean, hence them being a 3 seed. At the same time, it gets tough. I mean, I heard an interview with, gosh, I can't remember which former Gonzaga player it was, but it was one of them where he was even talking about it, where they asked him, like, what's it like to play in the West Coast Conference, where for 2.5 months, you can win with your 70% game, and it's hard to bring it night in and night out. It is, but this team did go on the road and beat Alabama in Birmingham. Like, they had some impressive early season wins. They closed the season strong. And all they do is make Sweet 16. So I would not bet against Gonzaga. I would even maybe bet on them.
Yeah, very interesting team. It feels like just because this team's kind of lurking out there. They've not been the showrunners that they've been in the past. And I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about them, but this would be the year that they do something different and kind of take the next step after so long, so many years, year in, year out. It feels like that. Is this the year? Is this the year? And can Mark Few get it done when it's a wide open tournament? We'll see. But as far as basketball or the baseball, we go from the basketball to the baseball. Man, like I said, the board screwed up. There are totals now. I've got one book pulled up. I'll tell you what I bet early this morning. I did a round robin of Wake Forest, LSU, and Florida. So all I got to do is win 2 out of 3 to not lose everything and limit some risk. Lower the payout a little bit, but limit the risk. That was a nice little, I think plus 250 was the payout if you hit all 3. But that Wake game has been moved to tomorrow. So if you want to pivot, maybe just Florida and LSU would be a plus money 2-leg parlay you could go with. I think Hurston Waldrop is going to be too much for Alabama. Not buying the stock in Alabama. They've got Ben Hess rolling out. Look at the competition. His numbers look nice, but High Point and the like, not buying it. I'm going with Hurston Waldrop. I think he's going to continue to impress for the Gators. And then I've not bet yet, but some teams I'm circling today, some dogs. Vanderbilt, they won. They picked up, their offense came alive against Jack Doherty and the Ole Miss Rebels last night. I've got them circled for today. Going to look into that one. That's a lean there. Duke is plus 110. Can't remember. I think that is at Clemson. But I really like Santucci there. He is a pitcher that doesn't get a whole lot of run. What's that?
That is at Clemson.
Yeah, at Clemson. Georgia and South Carolina. I'm not laying minus 40 for South Carolina. We like Will Sanders. We talk about him a lot. But this Georgia team's been hot, man. The bats have been hot. Jaden Woods, he had a little rough outing there, his debut being a Friday starter at the beginning of the season, but he's been on fire since. They've played way better competition than South Carolina. And Jaden Woods, his last 3 starts, the team has produced 7 runs or more. And one of those wins was against Georgia Tech. So, man, I'm kind of locking. Those are my leans: Georgia, Vandy, and Duke. So now that the board looks like it's healthy, I will proceed and make some bets, make some more bets. And if you want to see those, follow us on Pickett. Download the Pickett Sports app. It's free. Use promo code 920Logan. If you want to follow along with Charley and March Madness and the college basketball bets, you can use promo code 920Charley. Get on there, get with us. Those from Fan Run are there with us, making bets. It's easy. You can manage your and look at your win-loss, your ROI, your units. It's all there for you. It automatically you can pull up a game. You can pull up the Duke Tennessee game tomorrow, and it'll automatically give you the best prices on either side and what book. Go download it today. The Pickett Sports app. It's free. You even get a few bucks, and you'll be entered to win $100. You got a 1 in 100 chance to win $100. So go do it. No better time than now. March Madness, opening weekend, college baseball, ramping up, SEC play this weekend. Couldn't be more excited. Charley, any parting thoughts?
I don't know. Southern Miss, Texas State. Sneaky good series this weekend I'm watching. That's my parting thought.
Nice. Yeah, now that the board is full, I'll study it a little bit more. Like I said, follow me on Pickett at LDQ Sports, on Twitter at LDQ Sports. Definitely will have some bets in college baseball. I'm going to dabble in some basketball. Charley is going to hit everything on the board in basketball. So be sure to check us out at Pickett Sports.
Go Vols.
Let's get out of here. Let's enjoy the baseball and the basketball this weekend.
Duke and Missouri.
There'll be plenty of it. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. May us all have the luck of the Irish.
Yeah.